Subscribe before the truth disappears. The sirens were the kind that got into your teeth. High, urgent, slicing through the wet November night as the unmarked sedan skidded to a stop outside the faded brick apartment block. Detective Lena Moore stepped out into the flashing red-blue wash, breath fogging in the cold air. The building looked like every other on the block, peeling paint, barred windows, a busted light above the front entrance, but the way uniforms clustered around the third-floor stairwell told her this wasn't another domestic call. A young patrol officer met her at the tape, rain speckling his hat brim. "Third floor, 3B, he said. "Male, late 30s. Name on the ID is Daniel Reyes, parolee." "Who found him?" Lena asked. "Neighbor heard a thud. Door was ajar when she checked." He hesitated. "Detective, you're going to want to see this one." Her partner, Detective Evan Rourke, slid up beside her, coffee still steaming in his gloved hand. You hear the word parolee and suddenly everyone thinks they're psychic. Let's go. The stairwell smelled like old grease and bleach. They passed a faded Welcome Home Daniel banner pinned crookedly on the second floor, letters drawn in crayon. Lena caught it in the corner of her eye and filed it away. Someone had been trying to start over here. Outside 3B, CSU was already moving in and out, cameras clicking in the cramped hallway. The door hung open, splintered near the latch. "Single entry," the CSU tech said as Lena stepped through. "No sign of a struggle in the living room. It's all back there." The place was small but painfully neat. Couch cushions aligned like in a catalog, parole appointment notices stacked on the coffee table beneath a worn Bible and a halfway house pamphlet. On the wall, a photo of a little boy on someone's shoulders at a park, both faces turned away from the camera as if hiding. Lena moved slowly, taking in the details. The scuffed linoleum, the cheap TV, the absence of anything valuable. Nothing here worth breaking in for. Except the man who lived in it. In the bedroom, Daniel Reyes lay on his side beside the bed, one arm twisted underneath him. No blood sprayed across the walls, no dramatic violence for the cameras, just a dark stain seeping into a cheap rug, and a stillness that made the air feel heavier. His eyes, half open, stared at the nightstand. On the inside of his left wrist, a tattooed black circle circled 3 small dots. Rourke whistled under his breath. Well, that's familiar. Lena's gaze lingered on the ink. She'd seen that mark in case files, on grainy prison photos, and on cold bodies in morgue drawers. A circle and 3 dots, the symbol of a prison gang that called themselves the Tres Cruces inside, and something else on the streets. They never used their real name around outsiders. Outsiders didn't need to know. "What do we have?" Lena asked. "Single shot," the ME said. "Close range, no defensive wounds, no smudging on the hands. My guess is he knew whoever did it." Lena's eyes flicked to the nightstand. A cheap prepaid phone lay there, screen spiderwebbed, as if someone had stomped it deliberately. The SIM tray was empty. "Execution, not burglary," she said. "Anything missing?" "Wallet is in his jeans, cash still there. There's a safe bolted into the closet floor, locked. We'll get it open." Rourke stepped back into the hall, speaking quietly to the uniforms. Lena stayed, letting the room talk to her. Parole forms, employment application to a shipping yard, an orientation badge clipped to a chair. On the dresser, a wrinkled photo of Daniel as a younger man, shaved head and fresh tattoos, posing in a prison yard with 2 other men. All 3 wore that same black circle with 3 dots, freshly inked and angry. She could almost hear the recruitment pitch they had all gotten at some point. "You want to walk the yard alone, or you want someone watching your back?" Joining probably felt like the only choice. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, glanced at the message from the lieutenant. "Fast track this. Parole board already asking questions." Lena stepped back into the living room where a woman in a threadbare bathrobe sat on the couch, hands shaking around a styrofoam cup of water. Her dark hair was streaked with gray at the temples, eyes wide and red-rimmed. "This is the neighbor," a uniform murmured. "Elena Vargas, lives in 3C. Lena sat across from her, keeping her voice soft. Miss Vargas, I'm sorry for what you saw tonight. Can you tell me what happened? She nodded quickly, eyes darting toward the bedroom as if expecting something monstrous to emerge. I was watching TV, late. I heard a bang, like something heavy fell. Then this thud. She swallowed. His door was always closed. Tonight it was open, just a little. I called his name. No answer. So I pushed it. He was on the floor. I thought maybe he fainted. There was blood. Did you see anyone leave? She shook her head, then hesitated. I heard voices earlier, maybe 10. A man's voice, low. He sounded angry. He said something like, "You knew this was for life." And then he said, "Green light." I remember because it sounded strange, like a movie, you know? Green light. Lena and Rourke exchanged a look. A green light wasn't a movie line. Inside, it was a sentence, a death order. Did you recognize the voice? No, but Daniel sounded scared. He kept saying, I'm out, I did my time. He told me last week he got a job. He was trying, detective. He really was. Lena thanked her, left her with a victim liaison card, and stepped back into the hallway. This wasn't random, Rourke said quietly. He walked away from something they didn't want him to walk away from. Lena looked at the welcome home banner on the wall again. It sagged between two strips of Scotch tape, one corner slowly peeling free. He didn't understand, she murmured. You don't walk away from that. You just change yards. By the time they got back to the bedroom, CSU had pried open the floor safe in the closet. Inside, instead of cash or guns, they found paper, stacks of handwritten pages, a spiral notebook, cover worn thin, a manila envelope stuffed with photocopied forms and what looked like prison incident reports. Guy kept receipts, Rourke muttered. Lena pulled on fresh gloves and lifted the notebook. The first page started mid-sentence, lines cramped but legible. Had to choose a side. Mexican Mafia ran the block, Aryan Brotherhood had the guards, but Tres Cruces ran the phones. They said they would protect me from both. All I had to do was say yes. The next line had been underlined 3 times, as if carved into the paper. Nobody told me yes meant forever. She felt a chill run up her spine that had nothing to do with the cold apartment. Rourke came up beside her, reading over her shoulder. He was writing something. Memoir, maybe? Or a statement. Look at this. Names, dates, incidents. He's documenting everything. Kites, stabbings. Who ordered what? Snitch book, Rourke said. If anyone knew he was writing this, they'd give him a green light, Lena finished. On the last page, the handwriting changed. Harsher, hurried. If anything happens to me, it's because I tried to leave. They told me they owed me one more mission, even on the outside. They gave me a name, a target. Said if I didn't do it, they'd come for me and anyone I talked to. Below that, a list of names. Some had been crossed out, others circled. At the bottom, underlined, was a line that made Lena's throat go dry. Contact C.O.M. Keegan. He handles things on the inside. He said there's no such thing as Tres Cruces. Rourke frowned. Keegan? That's a corrections officer, right? County? State? State, Lena said. He worked seg at Black Ridge, transferred after an internal investigation. We could never pin anything on him. You think he's still running favors for them? I think he never stopped.
Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email notification from records. They'd expedited Daniel's file. She opened it, scanning quickly. Buried halfway down the summary was a line that made her heart stutter. Inmate Reyes Daniel. Requested protective custody after refusal to participate in mandatory mission for prison gang. Request denied. Placed in ADSEG following altercation in Yard 3. Threat status, high. Mandatory mission, Rourke said slowly. You know what that means. Violence, Lena said. Inside or out. Something to earn his patch. or keep it. She looked around the bedroom again, at the parole letters, the job application, the neat bed. Whatever that mission had been, Daniel had tried to step away from it, and someone had made sure he didn't. One of the CSU techs cleared his throat. "Detective, there's something else." He held out a clear evidence bag. Inside was a second phone, slimmer, better kept than the smashed burner on the nightstand. It had been hidden beneath a loose floorboard, dust still clinging to the edges. "Hidden phone," the tech said. "Still has charge, no lock screen. Looks like he used it for notes." She took it, thumb hovering over the screen. The home screen background was a photo of a child's drawing, 3 stick figures, a little house, a sun. Above the app icons, a notification banner glowed. One unplayed voice memo. "If they find me." Her stomach tightened. She opened the memo. Daniel's voice poured out, crackling slightly, but clear. Tired, frayed. "If you're hearing this, it means they found me. I'm not going to pretend I'm innocent. I did things in there. I thought joining a gang was just about surviving, protection, food, yard time, a seat at a table. They don't tell you about the missions, about how it follows you home. They gave me a name a month before I got out. Said it was my last job, then they'd let me walk. I said no." There was a pause. A faint sound of a TV in the background, the clink of a spoon in a cup. "They said if I wouldn't do it, they'd find someone else, someone closer, someone who already hates her. They said her name like it was nothing, like they were reading off a menu." Lena felt the hair on the back of her neck rise. "I tried to warn her," Daniel's recorded voice continued, urgent now. "I tried to get a message out, but inside everything's wired. Some of the guards, they're in it too. They see everything. So I started writing it down. Names, dates, what Keegan did, who he met with. I thought maybe if I had enough, someone would listen on the outside. A detective maybe. Someone who doesn't scare easy." The memo crackled again. Daniel lowered his voice, as if someone might overhear through the walls of his empty apartment. "If you're that detective, if you're the one reading my notebook, just know this started the day I joined them for protection. And it's not going to end with me. Not while they still have a green light. On you. On..." The audio cut off abruptly, replaced by a shrill digital bleep. "End of file." The phone displayed. Silence settled over the bedroom thicker than before. Rourke exhaled slowly. "On who?" he asked. "On who, Daniel?" Lena stared at the screen, thumb trembling slightly as she backed out of the memo. There was one more notification she hadn't seen before, buried under the memo icon. A notes app with a single new file, timestamped an hour before the neighbor called 911. The title made her heart drop into her stomach. Detective Lena Moore. Target. She opened it with a numb finger. The first line was only 5 words, written in a rush. "They told me your name first." The room seemed to tilt around her. In that moment, the neat apartment, the safe full of secrets, the dead man on the floor, none of it felt contained anymore. It felt like the beginning of a war she didn't know she'd already been drafted into. And somewhere, inside a prison yard she couldn't see, men she'd never met were passing her name around like a playing card, waiting for the green light.
Detective Lena Moore didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table with the lights off, the city's neon glow bleeding faintly through the blinds, Daniel Reyes's notebook open in front of her. Every page felt like a door she wasn't meant to unlock. Names of shot callers, coded orders, underground networks connecting county jails to state prisons, and a chain of corrections officers who acted as invisible couriers. And now her name was in it. Target. The word crawled under her skin like a splinter. At 6:14 a.m., her partner, Detective Evan Rourke, texted her. Rourke, Brass wants us in early. The warden from Black Ridge is coming in. Something about clarifying internal dynamics. Wear your stab vest. She almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she closed the notebook, slipped it into an evidence folder, and drove to the precinct with her badge clipped tight and one hand on the grip of her service weapon the whole way. The room felt smaller than usual. Maybe it was the tension, or maybe it was the 3 state officials sitting at the front table pretending not to be defensive. Lieutenant Grayson opened the meeting. He looked like he'd aged 10 years since midnight. "We have a situation involving the prison gang Tres Cruces," he said. "The victim, Daniel Reyes, kept a notebook documenting gang activity and naming a corrections officer, Michael Keegan. Before anyone jumps, Keegan denies everything and is, at this moment, voluntarily waiting in interview room 2. Lena exchanged a look with Rourke. Voluntarily rarely meant innocent. More often, it meant composed. Lieutenant Grayson continued. Internal Affairs started sniffing around him last year for contraband trafficking, but there wasn't enough to hold him. Now, Reyes's memo hints that Keegan was funneling orders to inmates and greenlighting violence. One of the state officials, the warden, shifted uneasily. "We're investigating that, but we cannot confirm any staff involvement at this time." Lena kept her voice level. "The memo cut off before Reyes finished, but he said Tres Cruces named a second target. They gave me my name." The room froze. Lieutenant Grayson's jaw muscles twitched. "We're assigning you temporary protection." "Temporary?" Lena asked. "Sir, they issued a green light on a detective. That's not temporary. That's an active threat." He hesitated, just long enough for her to realize he knew more than he was saying. Before she could push further, an officer knocked and poked his head in. "Detective? Interview room 2? Keegan's asking for you specifically." Her stomach dipped. Keegan requested her. A chill slid down her spine. Keegan looked nothing like the monster Daniel had described. He sat comfortably in the metal chair, arms crossed, uniform neatly pressed, blonde hair clipped short, face clean-shaven. The kind of CO who blended so well into the system that most inmates forgot he existed, until they owed him something. "Detective Moore," he said lightly, like greeting an old friend. "Quite a night for you, huh?" She didn't sit. Neither did Rourke, who stood just behind her. "We found Reyes's notebook. Your name's all over it." Keegan shrugged. "I work in a prison. People write a lot of things. They don't usually write that you're passing orders for Tres Cruces." He smiled, not wide, not mocking, just knowing. "I've worked in corrections for 18 years, Detective. If I had ties to a gang, don't you think someone would have noticed by now?" Someone did. Reyes. He leaned forward. Reyes was a coward. He begged for PC because he didn't want to do the mission they assigned him. But that's how gangs work in there. You don't get to say no. It's not about me. It's about them. Lena stared at him closely. "You sound like you know a lot about Tres Cruces operations." "I've observed them," he said evenly. "You can't walk a tier without learning how these groups survive. They eat their own. They pressure weak inmates to do dirty work. Reyes couldn't handle the heat." She placed the evidence bag containing Daniel's hidden phone on the table. The screen was still shattered, still holding that one devastating memo. "Reyes said someone gave your name, said you told him there's no such thing as Tres Cruces." Keegan's expression tightened just slightly. "Just enough." "I talked to hundreds of inmates. They all twist your words to save themselves, but they don't all end up dead." He tilted his head. "Detective Moore, do you think I killed him?" "No." she said quietly. "I think you opened the door for someone who did." The pause that followed wasn't denial. It was calculus, strategic silence. Finally, Keegan sat back and exhaled through his nose. "You're not wrong." Rourke stiffened beside her. Keegan continued, voice softer. "But you're not right either. I don't kill people. I manage. Order. Balance. You know how prisons are run, not by the state, not by officers, by alliances, agreements. You keep certain people happy, certain units calm, and sometimes that means looking the other way." Lena finished coldly. "Exactly. So you let Tres Cruces run missions outside the walls?" He flicked his eyes toward the one-way glass. "I wouldn't phrase it that way, but that's what happened." He didn't answer, but he didn't deny it. Lena leaned in. Who killed Daniel? Keegan's jaw clenched so hard the muscle spasmed. "I don't know, and even if I did, you think they'd tell me they're shooters? I'm not one of them. I'm a tool, a bridge. If I'm lucky, a favor. That's all." "Then tell me what the mission was." He looked directly at her now, expression flat and cold. "I don't know the target." Yes, he did. She saw it in his eyes, just a flicker, but enough. Rourke stepped forward. "If you know she's in danger and you're withholding..." Keegan cut him off. "Detective Moore already knows she's in danger." Lena's heart hammered once hard. "You said they gave Reyes 2 names. One he refused to hit, and one, well..." He smiled faintly. "They were saving that one." "For what?" Lena whispered. "For the day they needed to send a message." "Why me? Why would they greenlight a detective?" "Because you got too close last year. You busted their outside lieutenant, Torres, wasn't it? That crippled their pipeline. They didn't forget. The green light has been sitting on a shelf since then. Reyes's disobedience gave them the excuse to dust it off." Rourke swore under his breath. Lena felt suddenly cold. "Detective," Keegan said gently, "if you want to stay breathing, you need to stop chasing this." She stared at him. "That's not happening." He sighed. "I figured you'd say that." Then he did something she didn't expect. He leaned in, voice almost a whisper. "Then listen carefully. They didn't kill Reyes to silence him. They killed him to start something. And if I were you, I'd worry less about who pulled the trigger." He paused, eyes sharp. "And more about who they sent to finish his mission." Lena felt her stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" Keegan looked at her almost sympathetically. "Reyes refused the job. Someone else accepted it. Someone already inside your city limits. Someone who was inside with Reyes, and someone who likely knows exactly where you live." The room felt suddenly airless. "And the worst part?" Keegan added softly. "The mission isn't just you." Lena's voice barely escaped her throat. "Who else?" He didn't look away. "Your partner." Rourke froze. Lena's pulse roared in her ears. Before she could ask another question, the door flew open and Lieutenant Grayson stormed in. "Interview's over. Keegan's lawyer's here." Keegan rose calmly, smoothing his uniform. As he passed Lena, he murmured, "You have less time than you think." The morning sun had burned through the clouds, but the chill in the air felt sharper. Lena and Rourke walked toward their car in tense silence until he finally spoke. "Lena, if this is real, it's real. We should tell your family." She didn't answer. "Lena?" "They already know," she said quietly. "They know what this job is." He paced, running a hand through his hair. "If they're coming for us..." "They're not coming," Lena said. "They're already here." Something about saying it out loud made the danger snap into focus. Tres Cruces didn't make threats. They only made deadlines. Rourke leaned against the hood, thinking hard. So what now? We find the mission Reyes refused, she said. Find who took it. Find why they want us dead. And we do it fast. He looked at her. Where do we start? She opened her car door, but didn't get in. Instead, she pulled Daniel's notebook from her coat. It starts here, she said, with the last name he ever wrote down. She flipped to the final page. Rourke leaned closer. The ink was jagged, rushed, but clear. A name neither of them expected. A name that made their blood run cold. Levi Caldwell. Released 11 days ago. Former cellmate. Tres Cruces enforcer. Last known address. Unknown. Rourke straightened slowly. He's out, and he's roaming. And Reyes said he hated her, Lena whispered, recalling the voice memo. Her hand shook just slightly as she flipped to a second note, one she hadn't seen before, scribbled at the very bottom. Levi knows about the detective. Levi knows her routine. Levi knows who she loves. Rourke swallowed. You think he's already scouting? I think, Lena said, voice low and steady. He's already chosen his moment. Just then her phone buzzed. A notification. Unknown number. One message. A single photo. She opened it and froze. Rourke saw her face drain of color. What is it? Lena turned the screen toward him. It was a picture taken from a car window. Taken that morning at 6:42 a.m. Her building, her street, her front door. And a single caption underneath. Tick-tock, detective. Now it's your turn. The world seemed to tilt. Detective Lena Moore locked her apartment door from the outside, double-checked it, then triple-checked it. Every sound in the hallway made her nerves kick like a second heartbeat. She'd already moved her family to a safe location, quietly, quickly, without explaining more than she had to, but she knew that wasn't enough. Not with someone like Levi Caldwell on the loose. A prison enforcer wasn't just a hitter, he was a hunter. And the picture he'd sent her this morning proved he'd already chosen her as prey. Rourke drove her to the precinct with the windows cracked, watching every car behind them. The morning traffic looked normal to everyone else, but to Lena, every brake light felt like a trap, every motorcycle engine like a tail. We're not going to wait for him to make the next move, she said firmly, staring out the windshield. We find Levi. Today. Rourke nodded, jaw tight. And when we do? Lena didn't answer. She didn't have to. The task force meeting, 11:03 a.m. Lieutenant Grayson stood at the front of the room with a grim expression. 12 detectives, 2 federal agents, and 3 gang intelligence analysts filled the chairs. This wasn't a normal briefing. This was a manhunt. Grayson pointed to a grainy mugshot on the projector. Levi Caldwell, age 32, affiliation Tres Cruces, role enforcer/mission executor, record assault, extortion, 2 unproven homicides. Status released 11 days ago. He disappeared the minute he walked out the gate, Grayson said. According to the warden, he kept to himself inside. No visitors, no known family connections, no income on release. Because Tres Cruces takes care of their tools, Rourke muttered. Exactly. They place him, they shelter him, they fund him. He doesn't need a job, he doesn't need a home, he just needs a target. Everyone's eyes flicked toward Lena. She ignored them.
Where was he housed before release? She asked. Seg unit, then general population. He spent his last 2 months with someone you know. She clicked to the next slide. Daniel Reyes. Cellmates, Lena murmured. And according to staff logs, Levi refused yard twice after Reyes did, both times following recorded arguments. We think Reyes tried to warn him he was quitting. Or tried to talk him out of taking the mission, Lena said quietly. Which makes Caldwell our prime suspect in the homicide, and based on the photo he sent this morning, he's escalating. Rourke glanced at her. He's watching you, Lena. I know. Has to be close, Patel added. You don't get a shot like that without sitting nearby. Lena's phone vibrated. A text. Blocked number. She opened it. A single message. You're wasting time. Then another one. Check your desk drawer. Her breath stopped. She whispered. He's been inside the precinct. The room erupted in movement. Chairs scraping, officers reaching for radios, Grayson cursing under his breath. Rourke grabbed her arm. Lena, don't go alone. But she was already moving. Her desk looked normal. Too normal. The drawer slid open with a soft metallic clink. Inside lay a folded piece of notebook paper. Her blood ran cold. Not Daniel's notebook. Levi's writing. Big. Sharp. Confident. She unfolded it. Detective Moore, you're looking in the wrong direction. You won't find me until I'm done. But I thought you should know. Reyes didn't tell you everything. There was a second mission. A bigger one. And you're standing next to it. Her throat tightened. Next to it? To who? She felt Rourke step up beside her, looking down at the note. His expression shifted, then hardened. No. No way, he whispered. She pulled the note up to the light. A faint indentation, letters pressed from a previous page, became visible. She angled it carefully. The words ghosted into view. Rourke is the real job. Finish him and you earn the patch forever. Her breath caught. Evan. She whispered. He backed away slowly, shaking his head. I didn't. Lena, I swear I didn't. I know. But Levi wasn't done. Her phone buzzed again. A new text. You two make a good team. Shame one of you won't make it through the day. Rourke swore violently. He's turning us on each other, trying to fracture us. It's more than that, Lena said, scanning the note again. Levi didn't just take Reyes's mission, he improved it. He wants to break down everything Reyes tried to protect. So what's the big mission? If I'm the target, why send you the picture? Why talk you? Because he needs me off balance. He wants me paranoid, distracted, looking in the wrong places. Patel rushed in from the hallway. We traced the texts, she said breathlessly. They're bouncing through 6 relay servers. Whoever sent them is... The overhead lights went dark. All of them. The whole wing. A heavy mechanical click rolled through the building like thunder. Not just a blackout. A controlled shutdown. Rourke drew his gun. That came from inside the security panel. Patel backed into the doorway. Backup generators haven't kicked in. Someone disabled the fail-safes. Emergency lights flickered weakly, dim red lines over the doors. In that eerie glow, Lena's phone buzzed one more time. I'm here. Come find me, or I'll finish the job myself. Patel's radio crackled and died. Rourke moved closer to Lena. Don't, he said. He wants you isolated. He wants us both, together or apart. A loud metallic bang echoed from the stairwell. Then another. Slow. Deliberate. Getting closer. Officers in the adjoining wing started shouting. Footsteps, breaking glass. Someone yelled, "Shots fired!" The noise ricocheted through the hallway. Not gunshots. Not yet. Something heavier. A fire extinguisher smashing cameras. Blinding sparks showered the corridor. Rourke grabbed Lena's arm. We need to move, now. But Lena didn't move. Because suddenly, she understood. Levi wasn't just hunting them. He was flushing the precinct. Isolating floors. Driving them into dead zones. For one purpose. One target. Rourke, she whispered. What? He's not trying to kill us here. He's clearing the building so he can reach someone alone. Rourke's eyes widened. Who? Lena's breath caught in her chest. The second part of Reyes's last audio memo echoed in her head. Someone closer. Someone who already hates her. Someone who had access. Someone who worked the same building. Someone who had argued with her yesterday. Her voice was barely a whisper. Detective Alton. Rourke froze. Alton? He's on the 6th floor. He filed complaints about me. He blamed me for Torres's case falling apart. Levi knew he was vulnerable. They're not trying to kill Alton. They're using him. Using him for what? Lena swallowed hard. To get to me. A scream tore through the stairwell. Then a gunshot. Then two. The hallway erupted. Officers scrambled toward cover. Rourke pulled Lena behind the heavy records room door as the fire alarm began wailing. A shrill, suffocating sound that blended with the pounding footsteps rushing down the darkened hall. Somewhere above them, a door slammed hard enough to shake the ceiling tiles. Then her phone buzzed one more time. A video message. She opened it with trembling fingers. It was live. Detective Alton sat tied to a chair in the dim precinct evidence room, with a strip of duct tape over his mouth, eyes wide with terror.
Behind him stood a man built like a brick wall, shaved head, tattoos climbing his neck, the black circle and 3 dots branded beneath his collarbone. Levi Caldwell. He leaned toward the camera. "Detective Moore," he said in a low, calm voice, "you're out of time." He placed a gun against Alton's temple. "You want the truth?" He cocked the hammer. "Come earn it." The screen went black. Lena looked at Rourke, breath shaking. "This ends," she whispered, "right now." And as the alarm screamed and the emergency lights flickered, the 2 detectives charged into the dark heart of a precinct under siege, heading straight for the man sent to erase them both. If you thought this one was wild, you'll want to subscribe before the next case breaks.